Hello everybody and welcome back to the Beatles Forever. Today we're going to talk about the Beatles Second Album and we're going to have a rocking good time. The Beatles Second Album was actually the Beatles' third album released in the United States on Capitol Records. There was another album released by VJ Records called Introducing the Beatles in 1964. It's said that the Capitol engineers added reverb and echo to make it sound like a live performance. They gave the listener a feeling of being there at the live performance with their little tricks. So let us take a look at the songs on this sensational album that the Beatles sang and played so well on their early rock and roll days. The first song is called Roll Over Beethoven. It was recorded July 30th, 1963. This song was a great favorite of the Beatles. John would sing the song usually, but then later George took over. And George was having fun doing this song and bringing a lot of energy to it. According to the Beatles Bible website, the Beatles were huge fans of Barry's music, and between 1957 and 1966, they covered more songs written by him than any other writer. John Lennon said from 1964 in the book Anthology, "If they want things like Sally and Beethoven, we could do that standing on our ears." George started performing the songs from 1961 to 1964. The next song that we're going to talk about is Thank You Girl. And this song was a song of appreciation for the fans, and that's kind of sweet to do. Elvis did the same thing later whenever he sang I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. It was for the fans. And this song was written at a time when Paul and John actually sat down together to write a song. It's thought that John wrote the verses and that Paul added that interplay of words to the rest of it. It's supposed to be a single, but it ended up being on the B-side of Do You Want to Know a Secret? In 1972, John told the hit parader, "The song was written by Paul and me. This is just a silly song we knocked off." McCartney seemed to agree, describing it as a bit of a hack song, but all good practice. The song was recorded March the 5th, 1963. John did the harmonica overdubs in 15 takes. The song has some great harmonies, and Ringo gets to shine in this song with his drumming in the forefront of the instruments. It's a cute song. Next is You Really Got a Hold on Me. Here's another song that's a cover. The Beatles did great cover songs, and this is one of them. Smokey Robinson wrote the song, and this is one of Smokey Robinson and the Miracles' most covered songs. John and George sang the lead on this song while Paul sang harmony, and George Martin played the piano. Paul McCartney said, "A lot of our tracks may not have been cool. I think if we'd just been cool, we wouldn't have made it how we did. But it was a great aspect of us. John would do a shot of rhythm and blues, or You Really Got a Hold on Me, and you could call that cool." John sings this song with such feeling and strength, and the harmonies will knock anybody out. It's a fabulous recording. On the list next is Devil in Her Heart. This is a cover song. I love the cover songs because you can see the Beatles' taste in music, and this is what they chose to record. So you get an insight into their personalities and their likes by just why the cover songs they picked. George Harrison stated for the book Anthology, "The Beatles discovered this song through Brian Epstein's NEMS store. Brian had a policy of buying at least one copy of every record that was released. If it sold, he'd order another one, or 5, or whatever. Consequently, he had records that weren't hits in Britain, weren't even hits in America. Before going to a gig, we'd meet in the record store. After it had been shut, we'd search like the racks like ferrets to see what new ones were in there. Devil in Her Heart and Barrett's Strong Money were records that we picked up and played in the shop and thought were interesting." George sang the lead on this one. It's a song that's grown on me. I really like it now, and the song is catchy. According to the Beatles Bible website, Devil in Her Heart was the final girl group song recorded by the Beatles. Their own songwriting matured soon after, and A Hard Day's Night album would contain only Lennon and McCartney originals. From then on, when the Beatles covered songs written by others, they tended to be rock and roll favorites from their live shows. It was recorded on November the 22nd, 1963, and was done in 3 takes. George recorded a double tracking of the song, and John and Paul sang backup. George played lead guitar, and Ringo played the drums and maracas. Next up, It's Money, That's What I Want. The Beatles wanted to capture the success of Twist and Shout And this song comes close to it and probably equals it. It's a cover song by Berry Gordy and Janie Bradford. According to Ringo, the cover songs recorded with the Beatles were chosen by whoever liked them. It's interesting that when I joined the Beatles, we really didn't know each other, but if you looked at each of our record collections, the four of us had virtually the same records. We all had the Miracles, we all had Barrett Strong, and people like that. I suppose that helped us gel as musicians and as a group. They sure were like four peas in a pod with their musical taste, it appears. And they recorded this song on July the 18th, 1963, in 7 takes. George Martin added the piano parts to the song after the song was recorded. The piano really adds to the song. Ringo drums out solidly, and John sings with conviction. Singing about money, that's what he wants, and you believe him. They were all looking for lasting success at this point, so the emotion is real. The next song is You Can't Do That. John Lennon wrote this song, and it was at this point that John and Paul were writing less frequently together. This song was supposed to be released as a single, but Paul wrote Can't Buy Me Love, and the song ended up on the B-side of that. Well, that was a great bang for your buck because both these songs sound like winners to me. John said that it was him doing Wilson Pickett, a cowbell going full on the bar and the chord going ka-chong. So he told that to David Sheff at All We Are Saying. The song was done in 4 takes, and this is the first time that George plays his Rickenbacker 12-string guitar on a recording. John Lennon said to Melody Maker in 1964, "I'd find it a drag to play rhythm all the time, so I was always working myself out something interesting to play. The best example I can think of is like I did on You Can't Do That. There really isn't a lead guitarist and a rhythm guitarist on that because I feel the rhythm guitarist role sounds too thin for records. Anyway, it drove me potty to play chunk, chunk, chunk rhythm all the time. I never played anything as a lead guitarist that George couldn't do better, but I like playing the lead sometimes, so I do it." This was recorded on the 25th of February in 1964. George Harrison wrote the intro and the outro guitar riff in the studio, according to Tom Petty and Rolling Stone. When he asked Petty how he came up with it, Harrison recalled, "I was just standing there in the studio and I thought, I gotta do something." And so this is one grooving song from the harmonies to John's lead singing and guitar playing, to Paul's cowbell, and George's Rickenbacker giving those wonderful guitar sounds, to Ringo's steady drum presence. It's pure perfection. It should have been released as a single. Next we have Long Tall Sally. And this is a cover song of a record originally done by Little Richard. It was written by Robert Bumps Blackwell and Notris Johnson and Little Richard. According to Wikipedia, the Beatles were admirers of Little Richard and regularly performed his songs during their live act. Long Tall Sally was the most durable song in their live repertoire, lasting from the earliest days as a Quarrymen in 1957 through to their last public concert in August 1966. As with the majority of Little Richard remakes, Paul McCartney sang lead vocals as he could closely imitate Richard's vocal style. It was recorded on March the 5th in 1964. You could tell the Beatles loved this song and performed it often in their shows because they were able to record it in just one take. That's really impressive. So John Lennon said in the book Anthology, Long Tall Sally was originally released by Little Richard in March 1956, and it was a staple of the Beatles' live set from 1957 right up to the final show in San Francisco in August 1966, the most enduring of any of their songs. And Little Richard was one of the all-time greats. The first time I heard him, a friend of mine had been to Holland and brought back a 78 with Long Tall Sally on one side and Slippin' and Slidin' on the other. It blew our heads. We never heard anybody sing like that in our lives, and all those saxes playing like that. Crazy. I like to hear the singer or musician talk about their influences, and Little Richard was a big inspiration to John and Paul. And Paul really lets loose on the vocals for this song. Fantastic. I Call Your Name. I have to admit that I only heard this song recently and I love it. And I didn't realize, but I remembered hearing the Mamas and the Papas do this, but then their version sounds a bit different from this one, so I didn't connect it. But it was a song that John wrote to a long time before the Beatles. John said in 1980, in All We Are Saying, by David Sheff. That was my song. When there was no Beatles and no group, I just had it around. It was my effort as a kind of blues originally. And then I wrote the middle eight just to stick it to the album when it came out years later. The first part had been written before Hamburg even. It was one of my first attempts at a song. Musically, I Call Your Name is perhaps most interesting for its guitar solo, during which the Beatles fall into a ska rhythm. In 1964, that was mainly unknown outside of Jamaica. And then Paul had his memory about the song, stating that the I Call Your Name was written in Lennon's Aunt Mimi's house in Menlo Avenue, Liverpool. We worked on it together, but it was John's idea. When I look back at some of those lyrics, I think, wait a minute, what did he mean? I call your name, but you're not there. Is it his mother, his father? I must admit, I didn't really see that as we wrote it because we were just a couple of young guys writing. You didn't look behind it at the time. It was only years later that you started analyzing things. Paul McCartney said that in the book Many Years From Now by Barry Miles. This song was recorded March the 1st, 1964 in 7 takes. Ringo plays the cowbell at this time in the song, and I love it as well as the drums. George plays a 12-string guitar, and this song is so unique, especially given the year it was recorded. It was ahead of its time. Next we have Please Mr. Postman, and this song was recorded July the 30th, 1963. It took 9 takes. It was a cover song written by Holland, Bateman, Garrett, Dobbins, and Gorman. The Beatles once more took a song from a girls' group and made the song their own. They were performing this song since 1962 and had played it at the Cavern Club, and John sings the lead. The beginning of the song with the "wait" being sung a few times, you can feel the desperation of wanting to receive a letter from the girl they love. And the lead by John is perfect. They did a double track of that, and the woos are sung to perfection by George and Paul. That's a great rendition. And Ringo gives it his all too, especially at the end of the song. Next is I'll Get You. And this song is an early collaboration between John and Paul, and it was written at Aunt Mimi's house. It isn't the strongest of the Beatles songs, but it's catchy. And then John said, this was Paul and me trying to write a song, and it didn't work out. So that was what was in the book All We're Saying by David Sheff, and a John Lennon quote. The song was an early collaboration between John and Paul. As with She Loves You, I'll Get You, it was full of yeahs. And the Beatles' use of the word in the songs earned the name the Yeah Yeahs throughout Europe. Looking back in 1967, Lennon said, ever heard anyone from Liverpool singing yes? It's yeah. So I'll Get You became one of Paul McCartney's favorite Beatle tracks. It's frequently played live by the group too. A version from the London Palladium recorded 13th of October 1963 appears in the anthology 1. And Paul McCartney said in the book Many Years From Now by Barry Miles, it's got an interesting chord in it. It's not easy to pretend. That was nicked from a song called On My Trials, which is on an album I Had by Joan Baez. The part of the song that Paul likes, the part with the it's not easy to pretend, the chords on that are something else. And this was on the B-side of She Loves You. An interesting fact I found out was the song's opening line, Imagine I'm in Love with You, was innovative, drawing the listener immediately into the story. McCartney would cite this as an early example of Lewis Carroll's influence on Lennon's lyrics. And the last song from the album is She Loves You. This song, recorded according to the Beatles Bible, was when Beatlemania truly began. She Loves You was released as a single on the 23rd of August, 1963, and it remains their best-selling single in the UK. And then John remembered, I remember it was Paul's idea. Instead of singing I Love You again, we'd have a third party. That kind of little detail is apparently in his work now, where he will write a story about someone, and I'm more inclined to just write about myself. So that was John Lennon in 1980 for the All We Are Saying by David Sheff. This song was recorded July the 1st, 1963, and what's not to like about this song? It's the song that launched the group to stardom. I love how they slow it down when they sing, I'm with a love like that. And then the harmonies, the instruments, the end of the album with a bang doing the song. The album, the Beatles' second album, is fabulous. The group takes their own compositions and their favorite cover versions and shows the listener what they're made of. And this album was a stepping stone to future success. It was the last time they sang cover songs for an album, and the world would hear all original Lennon McCartney songs and later Harrison songs in the future. If you never heard the whole album, give it a listen to. You won't be disappointed. Thank you for tuning in, and if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. I thank you, and tune in again soon for more of the Beatles Forever. And I hope everybody has a great day. Bye.